Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not cutting my head off in either of these. Perfect. Success. All right. So, all right, it appears that that video is perfectly live. All right, and I've got that over there. All right.
Can you see the people, the other people?
Yeah, so I can see if, yeah, I can see like if anyone joins. So there's no one that's actually joined me that I can tell that I'm live because it gives like a little signal. All right, so if you have a Thera band, go ahead and grab it. If you're watching the recording, pause this and go grab one. So a couple options here with doing, I just want to do a little balance work to get started and a little standing arm work. So feet parallel, and if you're on your mat, it actually gives you a greater challenge than if you are off your mat. So let's take those hands kind of down to your side, and if you don't have a Thera band, don't worry about it. But let's pull wide into your band, squeeze your shoulder blades together, float your heels up into the air, and then lower that down and bring your hands up a little bit in front of you, and then pull back a little bit wide. It'll kind of run into your body, and then lower that back and down. And then pull back, squeeze, let those heels lift, and then lower that down. Pull back, squeeze, let that lift, and lower it down. Let's do 2 more of those. Pull back, squeeze, and lower it down. 1 more, pull back, squeeze, and lower down. And then from here, let's take 1 foot in front of the other here, and then you are going to, let's float your arms up in front of you, pulling into that band a little bit wide, right and left, and then lower that down, and then float up, squeeze, pull, and with your feet one in front of the other, it gives you a little bit of an extra balance challenge. And if that feels like too much, you can step them a little bit wider, right and left. So taking note of what foot is in front here and how that feels. And obviously, if you don't have a Thera band, you can just kind of create your own resistance, come up and push those palms wide, feeling resistance, and then lower that down. Let's take your other foot in front. And then if you've got your Thera band, otherwise you can do this without it, it'll be the same thing. So when you come up this time, let's sort of diagonal your arms and then bring that down, and then diagonal your arms the other way. Take that down. Woo! See, everybody needs to work their balance a little bit. Tandem standing your feet can be nice and exciting. Gently lowering that down. Thinking about engaging those abdominals, working that posture as you go up and down, spreading, narrowing. 1 more of those, and then your other diagonal, and then take that down. Let's scoot onto your mat, whether you were there or not. Let's lose your Thera band for a minute. Let those feet go a little wide and think heavy through your tailbone. And let's just go with a few little plies. So let's think straight down and grow back up tall. Just warming up through those legs, and then down and up tall. 1 more little bit of wide work there. Then we're gonna kind of add a little bit of coordination to this, just warming up through that lower body. So you're gonna go down, and then as you come up, you're gonna pull your feet together and then step that wide and go down, and now go the other way, pulling them together. Step wide, go down, come up and together, step wide, go down, come up and together, wide, down, up and together. 1 more of those to each side, and then go to your other one, and then come back in. Let's come up to the top of your mat. Let's try a little traditional Pilates, little sit down here. So cross your feet, find yourself tall, go almost all the way to the ground, and then go back up tall, and then go almost all the way down, back up tall. 1 more of those, almost all the way down, back up tall, and then this time have a seat all the way down onto your mat. Curl those legs around in front of you. And then let's actually take your band and hook it underneath your feet if you have a band. So you can use it kind of for a little bit of assistance here. So with it there, sort of take a light grip on it, roll yourself backwards, feeling your low back drop into the mat, and then bring yourself back up tall, and then go backwards, dropping your low back towards the mat, lift back up tall. One more of those, backwards towards your mat, and back up tall. One last one of those, rolling backwards, and then we're gonna go all the way down onto your mat. And then give ourselves a little challenge. So if you're using the Thera band, let it slide so that you've got kind of as much length as you can between your hands and your feet. If you don't have a Thera band, you can totally do this without. You're gonna float your feet up into the air so that they're up into a tabletop position, and then really take a second and find your low back into the mat so that your knees are even further back into you. And then let's just kind of gently push those feet out across the room, and then exhale, pull them back to you. And really take a second and dial in on that exhale. Exhale as you pull that in, feel that back drop into the mat. Make sure it's not lifting. Think wide through those abdominals, and that you're pulling all of those transverse abdominals back to support your back. And then challenging yourself, deciding where does that length go and come back in. Does it only go a few inches out and come back in? Or does it go all the way out to almost straight? And then exhale back into you. And then we're gonna lengthen again. And then exhale back in. One more of those, reaching those feet out. And then exhale back in. And then from here, let's just let that TheraBand rest down here on your mat. We're going to accumulate it to do other things in a few minutes. So let's leave it there though. So let's just take a few pelvic tilts, just connecting that breath again to the motion in your side. So you're going to find a big arch of your back, and then exhale, slide your tail away, feel your low back drop into the mat, and then release that out so you have a big arch of your spine, and then slide that tail away, feel your low back drop into the mat, and then release that back out. One more of those, slide that tail away, feel your low back drop into the mat, and then release that back out. And then with yourself here, let's go to a few leg slides. So you're gonna slide one leg long, and then exhale, pull it back into you. Slide your other leg long, exhale, pull that back into you. Slide one leg long, exhale, pull that back into you. Slide out, exhale back in. One more of those, slide out, exhale back in, and then your other leg so you're even, slide out, exhale back in. Let's let those hands go out to about a 45-degree angle wide right and left. And then let's let your knees drop over to the right. And then exhale, bring them up to center, and then drop them over to the left. And then exhale back to center. And then over. Can I help you? Oh, sure. You can just leave them anywhere. So I can put it in the tandark. Perfect. Sorry, thanks. And then over to one side, and then over to the other side. And then bring that back up. And then let's sort of pause here for a second. Let's take one foot up to a chair position, and then lower that down. And then your other foot up to a chair position, and lower that down. You're gonna keep doing that. I see a couple comments over here. I'm just gonna make sure no one needs anything. Oh, okay, those are just notices that someone's watching. That's weird that that popped up. Okay, nothing. Oh, there's messages here too. So many messages. Okay. on this one, once you get out there, leave that one leg up and then bring your other leg up. So you've got both legs up into your tabletop position. And then let's take one toe down and then your other toe down. And as you do that, you're going to think about letting your legs pass one another so that as one leg comes down, the other leg comes up and they go past one another. And you're testing your coordination here so that they're switching at a 45-degree angle. And one last one of those. And then deciding if you feel like a little bit more of an abdominal challenge, you can leave your knees in this tabletop position. If you're feeling like you want to take a little break on your abdominals or your low back, let those feet rest down and let's take both arms straight up to your sky. Whether you have a Thera band or not, if you've got it, grab it and then pull right and left into those hands. If you don't, just take your hands straight up. And we're gonna reach those fingertips up to the sky, give that a little right and left pull. Exhale, take that down to the mat. Inhale, separate those shoulder blades. Exhale, pull them apart, and then bring that down. Take that up, pull wide right and left, bring that together and lower down. Come up, separate just a little bit, creating your own resistance or pulling on the band, and then sink those shoulder blades down. Up, pull a little bit, and down. One more of those. Up, challenge yourself a little bit, and then anchor those shoulder blades here. Leave those hands reaching straight up to the sky. Loosen the tension on your Thera band if you've been pulling on it. Take one foot up to a tabletop, and then your other foot up to a tabletop. Leave those shoulder blades pulled down into your mat. And then from here, looking up at those hands for stability, you're gonna move your knees just a little bit to the right, and then exhale, pull that to center, and then over to the left, looking up at those hands, trying to not let them move right and left. Exhale back to center, making sure that you have those knees pulled far enough into you that you're not rocking, that you're not lifting through your low back and you don't feel any pain as you rock right and left. One more of those. And then bring that back. Deciding again if you want to leave your legs lifted or you want to take them down. Turn your palms away from you to start here, and you're going to let those hands slide on that Thera band wide, and then exhale, bring that up. And then wherever you land, pulling that down kind of into a goalpost arms, exhaling that back up. So that there's, if you're using the band, just a little bit of tension at the bottom, and then coming back up, coming down, pulling wide, lifting back up, coming down, pulling wide, lifting back up. One more of those, taking those arms down, reaching them up. And then when you get down here this time, just lose the band for a little rotation. So you're gonna let your hands fall backwards and then bring them back down, and then rotate your hands towards the ground, and then exhale, bring them around to the other side, and then rotating, opening, challenging your own range of motion, but making sure as you rotate that you're just going to a challenge and you're not moving into an area of discomfort. Kind of the same thing with all of these exercises as we go through them, that you're moving to a point of challenge, but not pain. So that you're gaining strength, flexibility, endurance without overdoing it. One more of those, rotating back and then rotating the other way and then bringing that back, giving those knees a little squeeze into you, just letting them stir one way or another. And then deciding whether you want to leave them in tabletop or pop them back down on the mat resting. We're going to take those arms back up to the sky, and then let's take one arm up and then exhale, pull that down, and then take your other arm up and exhale, pull that down. So you're doing, so independent moving. One last one of those. And then your other one. And then take that down. Find your lovely ballerina first position here. So you've got a soft bend in your elbows. Check in with your collarbone and think really wide through those arms, soft bend in those hands. And let's move one arm independently just to see how they feel right to left. So take your right arm and move it down towards your hip. And then exhale, bring that back. And then take that arm overhead, minding how much that rib cage pops, and bring that back. And now move your left arm and see how it feels compared to the right arm. Is it the same? Is it different? And then bring that back. And if you're feeling up to it, let's try both arms, taking them back overhead. And then exhale, bringing them up. Inhaling them down towards your hips. Exhaling them overhead. Inhaling, taking them down towards your hips. One more of those. Inhaling all the way over. Exhaling, taking them back down. Now we're going to add on to this if you feel like it. Inhaling those arms overhead. And then exhale, peeling up to look at those legs, lifting your head and neck off the mat. And then lowering that back and down. And then peeling up. And then lowering back and down, peeling off your mat, and then lowering back and down, and then peeling up, and lowering down. One more of those. And then lowering down, and then let's swing those hands around to your sides so that they end up at your hips. Bringing those feet in nice and close to you, and then you're going to start from your tail. So you're going to slide your tail away, roll your hips up into the air, coming up into a bridge, really engaging through those glutes, and then rolling down through your upper back, your middle back, your lower back, and onto your tail. And then start from your tail, slide your tail away, roll up, thinking about engaging through those glutes, stopping to wherever feels like a challenge. You don't have to get all the way to the top. And then rolling back and down. And as you get rolling through your spine, if you feel like you've got a little bit more range of motion, trying to bring yourself up a little bit higher, and then rolling back and down, and then trying to come all the way up, and then all the way back and down, but honoring your spine where it is. One more of those, rolling up, and then rolling back and down. And then let's hold this one at the top. If you can, just hold it here. If you've got a little bit more, let's lower your hips an inch, lift them an inch, down an inch, up 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 an inch, down and up for 4, for 3, for 2, one more, and then roll down, down, down. All right, so since we made the decision to get out the TheraBand for this, if you have one with you, what I want you to do is tie yourself into it. If you don't worry about it. And then you're gonna roll onto a side. If you can't lay onto your side, but you can lay onto your side with some pillows, go grab a bunch of pillows, however many you need. We're gonna do some super fun clams here. So you can be sort of pillow for your head, or you can have an actual pillow underneath your head, whatever you need to stay comfortable. I'm gonna actually prop my head up because I'm using my earbuds to connect the sound. So that, this is kind of my least favorite head position, but it's what keeps it from sounding really weird and muffled. All right, so your hips are, you got from your head to your shoulders to your hips is a straight line. If you look over your feet, over your hips, your heels are right there. And then use your extra hand, whatever one's not underneath your head, to keep you from rocking backwards. And you're going to open your knee and then close it. Open and close. Open and close. Open and close. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Open and close. One more of those. And then take that down. We're going to add on to this. If this was enough work for you, just stay there. If you've got a little bit more, we're going to open your knees and then close them. Open them and close them. Open them and close. Open and close. Open, close. One more of those. Open and close. And then take that down. Let those legs rest down on the ground. You're going to take your knees together and then your heels together. Your knees together and then your heels together. Knees together, heels together, knees together, heels together, knees, heels. One more of those. And then take that down. Before we go to the other side, let's come up and do a little seated work. Give yourself a little break in the middle. So you're going to sit nice and tall, find your best posture, separate your feet so that they're about mat width apart if you're on a mat. You're going to reach your hands out in front of you. Find your best posture so it's like there's a string attaching you to the ceiling. Reach your hands out in front of you, and then you're going to reach out with your hands over your toes, and then roll yourself up, stacking nice and tall as if there's a wall behind you. And then reach out in front of you and then roll back up nice and tall. Reach out in front of you, roll back up nice and tall. One more of those. Roll out, reaching, and then come up nice and tall. Pull your feet and your knees together, and then take your left arm and spin it around, opening, following your hand with your head, and then bring that back, and then take your other arm open and around, and then open and around, twisting and back, twisting and back. One more of those, opening and back. And then let's let those hands come down. Give them a little shake. Spin yourself around to the other side. You're going to lay all the way down because we've got to the even, so you need to do the clams on the opposite side. So line your upper body up and then take your hips right on top of the other one, and then let that knee come open and that closed, open, that closed, open, that closed. One more of those. And then let those legs float up into the air, and then let your knees come apart, and that closed, apart, that closed, apart, that closed, open and closed, open and closed, open. One more of those. And then let that come down. Let your feet rest down there. And then we're going to let your knees open. And then knees together, heels together, knees together, heels together, knees together, heels together. For 4, for 3, for 2, one last one of those, and then let that rest down. Let's untie yourself out of here. If you're tied up in your band. Sit that off to the side. I'm sure I will come up with a reason to use it again. Let's hop up onto all fours. If you need this for wrists, feel free to do that if you have any sort of tension or pain in them. If you're okay flat, you can leave it there. And if your knees bother you, you're welcome to take that pillow that you were just using and put it right underneath your knees so that your kneecap is hanging over the edge there. And then let's round up through your back and then lower down, looking out in front of you. And then just a little cat-cow stretch, rounding and releasing, rounding and releasing. One more of those. And then bring that back to a flat back. And while you're here with your flat back, take a second and just kind of let your shoulders relax in what I would consider the most unflattering way possible. And then push the ground away from you so that you feel those back muscles separate and you feel strength and energy there. And then we're going to do kind of a little bit of around the world. So let's lift your right arm out in front of you and then bring that down. So lift your left arm out in front of you, bring that down, right leg out behind you and back down, left leg out behind you and back down. So we all kind of felt like what naturally happened there. So let's take a second and really dial that in. So let your abdominals relax in the most unflattering way possible. And then take a big inhale and then exhale, pull that up to support your back. One more big inhale, holding that abdominal challenge. Exhale, pull those muscles up and in even more. And then from here, let's keep that engagement. And then let's try lifting our right arm and seeing how that feels different than the last time. And then float that left arm up and then lower that down, making sure we're not locking out those elbows. Right leg goes behind you, trying to minimize that shift right and left. And then left leg goes behind you and comes back in, trying not to shift right and left. And now let's add on to that. So let's try right arm and left leg. Hold that up there for a little challenge. And if you've got it, just keep holding it here. If you've got a little bit more, let's lower that arm and leg, lift that arm and leg, lower that arm and leg, lift that arm and leg. One more of those, lower that and lift that, and then pull that arm and leg down, and then take your left arm and your right leg out, and then lower that down, lift that up, lower down, lift up, lower down, lift up. One more of those, lower that down, lift up, put that arm and leg down, grab another round and release. And then bring that back around, sweep your feet out in front of you. And then let's work a little bit of a rolling down series here before we go all the way back onto the mat. So reach your hands out in front of you. Start from your tail, slide your tail away, roll yourself backwards till you feel that low back turn on, and then pull yourself back up to sitting tall. Slide your tail away, roll, yourself backwards, roll back up nice and tall, slide your tail away, roll backwards, and then lift up nice and tall. One more of those. Slide your tail away, roll back till you feel a little challenge. Lift yourself up nice and tall. And now let's try either side. Roll back, bending your elbow, and lift back up. Roll back, bending your other elbow. Lift back up. Roll back, bending. Lift back up. Roll back, bending. Lift back up. Roll back, bending. Lift back up. One more of those. Roll back, bending, and lift up, and then roll all the way down onto your mat. Nice and slow. Let that head and neck rest down on there. Just give it a little roll right and left. Get any tension out of there. And then let's grab a hold of your right leg. Pull it back in. Do you feel your low back drop into the mat? Grab your left leg and float it up, and decide whether you want it in a tabletop position or if you want it out really long, whichever one is better for you. Take a big inhale and curl up, or let your head down if that feels like too much, and then switch them and switch. And as you reach that leg out across the room, remembering the curl up is optional, but as that leg goes across the room, you don't want to hear any snapping or popping in your hip. So if you're feeling that, reach your leg a little bit higher towards the sky and really think about pulling those abdominals in even more than you already were before. And let's do 2 more sets. And then hug both knees into you. Let your head and neck rest down. Roll to look to one side. Roll to look to the other side. And then let's bring your hands back or head back to the middle. Reach down to your ankles. We're going to do your double bent leg stretch with your head resting. I'll give you the increased challenge in a minute if you want it. So your arms and legs are going to go out, and they're going to exhale and circle around and come back in. Inhaling out, exhaling around and in. If you want more, you can curl up, inhaling out, exhaling around and in, inhaling out, exhaling around and in, inhaling out, exhaling around and in. 2 more, 1 more, and then come in. Let that head and neck rest down. Grab your band, and we're going to start with a stretch here. So you're going to take 1 foot up into here, and then pull that back to you for a nice big hamstring stretch. If you don't have a band, grab a hold behind your leg. And if you can, let that other leg slide out long across the room for even more stretch. And then go to some circles, circle around, down, exhale, and come up, cross over, circle around and up, cross over, circle around and up, cross over, circle around and up, and then go the other way. Inhale away, exhale around and up, 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 inhaling away, exhaling around and up. And then let's switch legs. Take that leg straight up into the air, pull that leg back to you for a big stretch. Finding that hamstring stretch on this side. And then let's go to those circles. So you cross over your body, circle around, down and come up. Cross over, circle around and up. Keeping these circles at whatever range of motion feels good to you. And then go the other way. And then come up, pull that leg back to you for a big stretch. And then let's take those feet up into here. And then really think about your low back here. So take a second to check in with it. Feel it all drop down into the mat, nice and safe and secure. And then using your band as you need it, but challenging yourself, inhaling down a little bit, and then exhaling, pulling those legs back up to you. Inhaling down, exhaling back up, inhaling down, exhaling back up, inhaling down, exhaling back up. 2 more of those. Inhaling down, exhaling back up, inhaling down, exhaling up. 1 more of those. Inhaling down, exhaling back up, leaving your legs up into the air, pulled back to you. And then let's go to a little tick-tock. So let's take those feet over to one side, exhale, pull that back to center. Those feet over to the other side, let that opposite hip lift off of that, exhale back up, inhaling over to one side, exhaling back up, inhaling over to the other side, exhaling back up, inhaling over, exhaling up, inhaling over, exhaling up. 1 more of those. Inhaling over, exhaling up, over to the other side, exhaling back up. And then let's lose your TheraBand. Apparently I'm gonna get my toes stuck in it. And then toss that off to either side. Take your right leg and cross it over your left leg so that you've made a triangle stretch. If this feels like enough stretch here, just leave yourself here. Grab a couple little ankle circles with that right leg. If you feel like you've got a little more in you, reach that leg up and grab the hold of that behind that left thigh and pull that stretch back to you. Then you can circle both ankles, the bonus of this. And then let's drop that leg down onto the mat. Take your right arm out across the room. Bring your left hand behind your head if it'll go there. If you need to rest your hand on the front of your forehead or down across your chest, that'll also work. But you're gonna go curling across your body and down and over and down. Thinking about taking that shoulder towards your knee, wherever it'll go, making this as big or small a motion as you need to. 1 more of those. And then bring that back. Let your arms go out nice and wide. Cross your knees over one another. Drop your knees over to the left and then look out to the right. And then come up. Uncross your legs, cross your left leg over, reach on through, pull those legs pull that back to you for a stretch. And sort of taking a stretch on the side at whatever position worked for you on the other side. This is like our last bit of challenge, and then we're gonna come up and grab some gentle stretches. And then let that leg rest down. Reach that left arm out across the room. See where your right arm's comfortable, and then you're gonna go across your body and down, over 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 and down. One more of those. And then take that back. Let your arms go out wide. Drop your knees over one another. Drop your knees over to the right and look out to the left for a nice big stretch. Bring that back up. Uncross those legs. Grow the hole behind your legs. Roll yourself up to seated. Bring the bottoms of your feet together. Just find yourself sitting nice and tall. Lean forward for a nice little stretch here. And then come up, take those legs out long, take a big inhale, reach forward for your toes if that's in your wheelhouse. If that feels like too much, just bring your hands behind you and then just kind of lean forward with a flat back. Wherever that'll take you, you'll still get a big hamstring stretch here, I promise. And then come up, pull one leg into you, wrap your arm around it, or twist towards it, however is comfortable to get a little spine twist here. And then slide that leg out long, pull your other leg into you. And then bring that back. Let's grab one little stretch behind you. So come on up, drop down into your calves with your hands at your side. And let those heels sink down. And then reach your hips up into the air, let your head hang over, let your hands hang down, and make a few little arm circles here, just letting them circle in one direction, and then take them the other way, letting them head hang over. Nod your head yes, shake it no. And then soft bend in those knees, roll yourself up to standing nice and tall, and take a few big shoulder circles, rolling those shoulders back and down. And then step your feet just a little bit wide for one last little bit of standing work. So just let your arms come to one side, let one heel lift, and just rotate through your torso just a little bit. shaking it all out. And then bring yourself back. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you had a great class.